I'm making Berliner today, 1.5 times a German recipe. I have my measuring cup here. Only reaches to 250 grams. Goes in the mixer. 250. Another 250. I put 3 times 250 flour in it. This is my last 250 grams. They go in the mixer.
Now we put a hole in the flour in the mixer. And next?
And next I add 75, a little bit, 80 grams of sugar. I don't add them yet. I pour them in a cup. Now I measure out my milk. First 1/8 of a liter. And I pour it in a little dish because I have to heat up the milk. And a quarter, 1/4.
The total amount is 1/8 and 1/4 for a total of 3/8 of a liter of milk.
Now we heat it up in the microwave for 1 minute. I tested with my finger. It should be lukewarm, not hot. Otherwise the yeast won't work.
For this recipe, you use 45 grams of yeast. If you use dry powdered yeast instead of active yeast, you need to dissolve it in the warm milk really well before using it. I'm going to crumble it into the hole in the flour. I'm going to add a little bit of sugar.
Add a little bit of the lukewarm milk.
A little bit of the warm milk. And a little bit of the milk.
A little bit more. So now you stir this around a little bit. Cover it with a towel. And put it in a low heat oven, the lowest you can get.
Ours is set to 170.
But I had it already preheated, so now I turn the oven already off. It's warm enough. And that has to be in there for about 10 minutes until the yeast rises.
In the meantime, we'll cut 80 grams of unsalted butter into small pieces and let that put that into the warm milk that's remaining.
In the oven.
And also put that bowl into the oven to keep it warm. Now you take 2 eggs and you put 1 full egg in the cup, and then you separate the white out of the second egg and put the yellow into the first cup. The egg white will be used to brush on to make the 2 halves of the Berliner stick together. So now we'll check the yeast to make sure it's risen properly. It should look like that.
Adding the remaining sugar. Adding the sweet buttermilk. I usually don't put all the milk in yet to see whether it's all right. My 2 eggs. A pinch of salt. Try not to put it on the yeast at the end. And later add a little bit lemon juice. Now we're going to mix it.
And we will use a netting hook for the mixer.
First off slow.
Starting out slow.
Increasing the speed a little bit. Still watching that the flour doesn't spill out. Adding a little bit lemon juice. Don't need half a lemon, just for the taste. Make sure you don't get a kernel in it. A seed, I mean.
The bowl should look clean. And if it wasn't, you needed to add more flour, and if it was too dry, you need to add a little bit more milk. Now we're gonna knead it by hand just a little bit.
Put it in the bowl and let it rise in a warm oven for at least an hour.
And again, cover the bowl with a towel. In for an hour. Turning off the oven after a few minutes so the oven is not too hot. While the dough is rising, you can prepare the pot with some canola oil and your cookie sheets with just a little bit of flour. Alright, so you
Just
beat the egg a little.
Yeah, egg white.
The egg white.
Just the egg white. That's for closing up the belly.
And we'll check on the dough. And it looks like the towel is looking pretty high. So we don't want it to overflow. Go ahead and take it out. And
have to net it again.
Net it a second time.
Yeah. Needs a little bit more flour.
Anytime it gets a little sticky, just add a little flour.
Plus I'm cutting it in half, then it's easier to net through again. It's too much dough.
We're kneading it a second time after having split it in half, just to make it easier.
Flouring on our, put some flour on it.
We use the top of a glass to punch out the circles. Now I'm going to brush a little bit of the egg white around the edges. And then you're going to pick your filling. You can leave them unfilled, but we love them with preserves.
This is more jelly.
Something a little thicker helps from it to leak out in the oil.
I don't know.
Don't want to put too much in. You can do about 4 at a time. And we'll cover those with another half. And use your fingers to press down on the edges. Don't want that jelly popping out in the oil. So now we have them all ready to go. They're risen a second time, and for the oil we are going old school without a thermometer and judge the oil by using a wooden stick, and it should make little bubbles and you put it in. Use a slotted spoon. And about 3 at a time,
No,
maybe 4,
four.
depending on the size of your pot. So we'll be looking for a golden brown color.
And then we turn.
We'll remove them.
Cool them a little bit before you put
Pull
them
them
in.
on a paper towel. And while those are cooling, you can put in another round. Next, they're gonna get a little sprinkle of sugar.
The most important part is to let them cool before you eat.